the officer needs to justify his actions, but it was a mortifying clip to watch, and I think the vast majority of the public would agree with that. Then you see the second clip. Equally, that was horrifying. It was absolutely a disgraceful assault on those police officers. Those responsible must be held to account. They should be charged and they should be brought to justice. So, two absolutely horrible incidents, both shown separately, both brought together. But let's be very clear, these two incidents that led up to that attack aren't the overall incident. Police are also appealing to witnesses for everything that went on before that led up to the assault by those individuals, who also will need to justify their actions. There's no justification of assaulting police officers in the execution of their duties, but they may well have them in the same way that that officer went what would appear to be beyond the call of duty.
Now, they used to say the camera never lies, but we aren't so naive these days, or are we? After footage emerged of an armed police officer kicking a man on the ground, there was a lot of outrage. But new film now shows how violent the confrontation was before what we initially saw. Let's speak to Shabnam Chaudhri, who's a former Met Police detective superintendent. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
I presume that when you saw the initial footage, you would have thought that was probably a bit out of context, and that to have a view on anything, you do need to see the whole thing, don't you?
It would always be helpful to see the whole thing, but taking that clip in isolation that everybody saw first was absolutely horrifying. It was disproportionate. The officer needs to justify his actions, but it was a mortifying clip to watch, and I think the vast majority of the public would agree with that. Then you see the second clip. Equally, that was horrifying. It was absolutely a disgraceful assault on those police officers. Those responsible must be held to account. They should be charged and they should be brought to justice. So, two absolutely horrible incidents, both shown separately, both brought together. But let's be very clear, these two incidents that led up to that attack aren't the overall incident. Police are also appealing to witnesses for everything that went on before that led up to the assault by those individuals, who also will need to justify their actions. There's no justification of assaulting police officers in the execution of their duties, but they may well have them in the same way that that officer went what would appear to be beyond the call of duty.
Now, we'll talk about the body-worn footage in a second. The point here was that the reason that the last bit of it happened was because these were armed police officers, and because they felt that they lost control of the situation. They were worried that someone would take their would take their weapons from them. That seems to have complicated things, doesn't it? Or maybe not explained, but that perhaps is the reasoning for some of the actions that were taken.
Well, that was the initial statement given out by Greater Manchester Police, and that needs to be determined, and the officer needs to account for why he actually inflicted that horrific assault on the male. Remember, that young man, 19 years of age, and I think age actually here is irrelevant, but he was a young man who'd already been tasered. So he'd been incapacitated. He was laying face down on the floor, and within 3 seconds of that happening, the officer took the kick to his face. He did attempt to stamp on his head. It was only by the good grace of God that his mother literally pulled his almost lifeless body around to prevent that attack.
And before that, we saw the attack on the police officers, and one of them had her nose broken.
Disgusting attack on any police officer. Actually, was sickening to watch, equally as sickening as the assault by the police officer. So there are two incidents here that are clearly linked, but both need to be dealt with. There are 3 individuals here who committed horrific acts of assault. All 3 of them have got to justify their action. All 3 of them have got to be held to account. Let's be also very clear about the duty of police officers with firearms. These are specially trained officers. These are elite officers. These are officers that go through vigorous training. They are put into situations that are incredibly volatile. They deal with terrorist incidents. They are trained. And I'm not saying that mentally they get it right every time, but they're trained to actually be calm, to be measured, and to protect and serve the public.
And what happens now? Obviously, there's an inquiry. Who will have access to the body-worn camera footage?
Well, there's two separate investigations here. So Greater Manchester Police are investigating the assault by those on the police officers, and the IOPC are investigating the officers' conduct. So they will all have access to the body-worn cameras, to all sorts of other footage. I think Greater Manchester Police have opened a portal for the public to load into that, for them to be able to investigate fully.
Will you be pressing charges against the officers?
Yes.
Criminal charges?
Yes, like I said earlier, IOPC are in charge of it now, so they are directly dealing with it. So they will be taking victim statements of the 3 members of the family that have been assaulted. People are forgetting that the mother was assaulted as well. They've just seen videos of 2 boys being assaulted.
How is the mother?
The mother is traumatized. Again, she doesn't know what to do. I was just with her. She says she hasn't ate for the last 48 hours, 3 days, sorry. She hasn't ate for the last 3 days, and health-wise she's not doing very well at all. So I've asked her to take a rest and visit the hospital if her condition worsens.
Can you help shed
She got punched and kicked in the way.
Do you know what happened before all of this?
What sparked it?
I don't know what happened before at all, but one thing I can say loud and clear, that nothing justifies the barbaric treatment from the police officers, because as you can see by the videos that everyone has seen, there was no threat whatsoever to the police or the public. And I'd like to mention this as well. On video, it can be seen a police officer threatening to taser the person behind the camera. So the person behind the camera, please get in touch. I've not spoken to them yet. This is a message, so please get in touch with us, because they threatened to taser them just for videoing their crimes.
Have the family
The older brother of the gentleman who was stamped on the head is a policeman, saving police officer in Greater Manchester Police.
What's been his reaction?
He's a police officer.
What's been his reaction to this?
Greater Manchester Police, that's all I can say.
What has been his reaction?
I've told you earlier, he's scared to go to work. He thinks that the same will happen to him if he attends work.
So these 2 guys have an older brother, and he's the officer.
He's the police officer.
Do you know what rank that officer
No.
is?
But he's spoken to his supervisor today and told them that he's not going to be coming into work because he's too afraid that he will also be assaulted.
What have the brothers said to you today about what they think about the police?
They're scared of the police.
In terms of the community reaction to this video,
Well, what can I say to the members of the community? And we can justify the concerns, can't we? Because we are living in a democratic country where we can protest, and if they want to protest, they should do it peacefully. That's my message. Peacefully protest. We are working behind the scenes, and the IOPC is working behind the scenes. We are with policing, but we are against people taking advantage of their powers. And we need justice, and justice will prevail.
Thank you. The 2 brothers, you say they worked? What work did they do? Are they students?
I don't know what they do in terms of their employment, but I can confirm they haven't seen the inside of a police station in their lifetimes.
Would you ever trust the police again?
Me and the police have a long history. It's not about trusting the police. You can't paint everyone with the same brush. There are some very honest police officers, so I can't paint them all with the same brush, and I hope the honest ones do come forward and assist us in other inquiries and investigations. No matter what the spark was, again, like you just said, the incident was on the plane. Does that justify somebody being kicked in the head with steel toe cap shoes, which is part of the uniform that the armed police have to abide by?
Trying to clarify what sparked the entire incident.
No matter what sparked the incident, it was on the plane, and it wasn't at the airport like you just said.
And the 2 brothers weren't?
And the 2 brothers weren't on the plane.
Yeah, they were waiting for
They
them.
were waiting for them. Along with the grandchildren of the
Do you know where they come from?
We don't know anything about what happened exactly on the plane. right now we're dealing with what happened at the airport.
What did the police do to the mother? 'Cause I'm not sure
From the reports I've had from the mother, she was kicked to the face and also punched. She has a black eye, which I've documented. And with only once I received permission from the family, I'll be releasing the injuries.
And did the family want to speak to us at all? The media?
Not the sons took the grandson to give them a surprise that they're going to pick. You know, they hadn't told the children that they're going to pick up their grandma, so the children had to witness.
So